by miracle of sound. All right, and welcome back to the Shardbreaker podcast. This is episode 2 of Bands of Mourning, the third book in Mistborn Era 2. We did chapters 6 through 11 this week. I am Midnight, your host, and I am here with Mythic.
Hola.
And Darkness.
Hello.
All right, so we start off chapter 6 with a broadsheet page. This broadsheet is from New Saran, not from Elendel. We, of course, have a little story from Alamancer Jack presents Nikki Savage, paranormal investigator.
I'm so glad I don't have to hear any of these.
Nikki Savage is trying to find the location of some metal beings who were apparently created by the Lord Ruler called the Calcus. She is currently on a gondola with a haunted green glowing man. We also then have a separate notice about a broken gondola in New Saran on the Zinc line that has stranded passengers. The cause of the breakdown is unknown. We also have a note from Bilming's mayor about how they've created warships with turret guns called Pewternauts. Some people seem to find it a great show of power, but others call them toys as they don't see why warships are needed. There's an advertisement for a play about the survivor and his crew, and then there's also a small paragraph for the actual story of Nikki Savage. So what do you think about these supposed metal beings in Nikki Savage's story? Do you think they're real?
Sure. I don't think anything Alamancer Jack writes is ever real, so...
So you don't trust Nikki Savage either? Because she's related to him in some way?
He's right... it's written from him. Of course.
Seems to be like a spin-off character or something.
What
do you think, Darkness? Do you think the metal beings are real?
If they are, they wouldn't be that, how do I say it, much of a problem, considering what Alamancy can do in general.
Yeah, if they're made purely of metal, it seems like you'd be pretty easy to just throw them around using Alamancy. Also, what do you think about this one town creating warships? Do you think those are needed? Like, as far as we know, there's only humans in the Elendel Basin, and it seems pretty peaceful.
No.
No, they don't need the warships, or no, it's not peaceful?
Peaceful.
Yes.
Do you think there's
They're
gonna be like...
They're definitely gonna need the warships.
You think there's gonna be like some sort of like civil war at some point or something?
At this point, I wouldn't be surprised.
So then we go into the actual chapter. We start with Merassi's point of view as she looks at a sketch of that Rayler had done of some sort of red creature with horns and potentially spikes for eyes. Rayler had claimed it had fallen from the sky and that it was of the void. She then opens up her copy of the hemalurgy book that Marsh had given Wax, reading a section about how difficult it was to create creatures using hemalurgy even for the Lord Ruler. Apparently Spook had even wanted to have the elderly or people close to death sacrifice themselves to make hemalurgic spikes. So what do you think about these monsters that Rayler drew? Do you think they're real or just caused by his insanity after losing his spike?
No, they're real. I want them to be real.
What do you think, Mythic?
Possible.
Mm-hmm.
Anything's possible in this world.
Also, what do you think about Spook wanting to have people who were like basically on the brink of death sacrifice themselves for hemalurgic spikes?
Okay, but that's like valid. Also, wouldn't that ruin technically? So, like, let's say you have your hemalurgic powers or whatever, right? I mean, not hemalurgic, your elementic and like all that shit, right? And then you get that chance of like staying in Shadesmar for a bit longer. If you get that removed by the spiking, would you just like disappear instantly?
It's very possible, yeah. That I don't think we know for sure, but it's definitely possible that hemalurgy would take away your potential to like your soul to last a little bit longer in Shadesmar before going into the Beyond. Yeah, Spook was very interested in hemalurgy. He was a little...
Probably wanted to extend his own life, you know?
That's not surprising. I've been wanting him to be like...
Here?
You remember when I was like, what if he's just like, uses spikes and then just fucking lives forever and shit?
Yeah.
Or even if he didn't figure that out, like, for all we know, he could have, like, become a cognitive shadow like Kelsier. Kelsier could have been like, hey, I know how to make your soul live forever at least.
Wouldn't he have to die first?
Yeah, but I'm saying if he never figured out immortality when he eventually died.
Yeah. Okay, but also it would be a lot riskier if you just wait for that then too.
It's true.
You know.
Unless you kill yourself.
Not for hemalurgy, though, because then potentially you don't stick around. So Morassi then goes back to looking at the document she had received from Vendel regarding Vrelur. It mentioned that he had been caught in an explosion that caused part of his body, including one of his spikes, to be torn from the rest of his body. She thinks that the spike either would have been disposed of with the other bodies that had been killed in the explosion, or the set had found it and took it. Morassi then notices that Wayne had joined the loud couple behind her, and when he sees that she had noticed him, he joins the table instead. He mentions that he'd been trying out their accents since they were from New Saran. Wayne then questions why Marassi is going through her notes here instead of in the train car that Wax had purchased for them. Marassi mentions that she doesn't like being in Wax's shadow. Wayne can't really relate as he says he likes not being the one who is seen all the time. Marassi states that it seems like everything she does is about Wax in some way, and that she wants to be her own person. Wayne understands where she's coming from and says that Wax can be overwhelming sometimes. Marassi states
Not following her.
Marassi states that she feels like that she's going to find Riddler's spike, and the Conjurer will still thank Wax for it. Wayne says it isn't fair to her, and then gives her an example of a guy who had a really bad life. He got stabbed in the dick by his girlfriend and had his fingers smashed in a prison cell door. Wayne says when he thinks life is unfair, he just thinks of how much better his life is than that guy's. He then leaves to talk to Milan, who Marassi thinks has sculpted her body to an unrealistic degree. So what do you think about Marassi feeling like all of her accomplishments are kind of like mostly given to Wax for credit?
Because it's true!
It is pretty true.
Wax isn't the one that's the one that, over whatever his name was? The Mr. Bloodbender guy?
Miles 100 Lives?
Yeah, that guy. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, without Marassi's power, they definitely would not have beaten Miles.
Exactly. So yeah, here we are, it's all it's all what he got,
Mm-hmm.
He got all the praise.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Wayne being the person who likes to do all the disguises and stuff, like, it makes sense that he doesn't want any praise. He's like, I love when all the attention goes to Wax, because then no one will find me out when I'm doing all my disguises. But for Marassi, it's obviously, like, really upsetting, because she's like, I've been working really hard to, like, get to certain places in my life, and just because I've, like, met and associated with Wax, now it feels like he's just given all the credit for absolutely everything. Which, yeah, it definitely sucks for her, because she wants to be her own person. She wants to have accomplishments of her own.
That she can't be.
Marassi still reminds me of Caitlyn from Arcane.
Oh yeah.
I just want to be my own person as I follow this evil bitch.
Have you watched it?
Yeah, I have.
All I can think of when I was reading her perspectives and stuff was, I don't need all the guards at the Hex Gates.
Yeah, exactly. I don't need all the guards there. No.
So Marassi then tells Wax that she wants to head to bed for a few hours, so he should also go over the notes and drawings from Raylur. She also tosses the pouch holding the earring to him. She then I missed a paragraph. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, you
Of course you did.
I did. Marassi then begins to get tired and packs up her notes, noticing an earring for Wax and a note accompanying it. She holds tightly to her papers and heads towards the train car where Wax and Steris were. She finds the room they are in and calls out to Wax, but he's engrossed in the ledgers with Steris. He excitedly tells Steris that he found where one of the missing clips were, in the tips where someone had turned in their papers late. Apparently it was the final missing one, and he won because he had found 2 of the 3, whereas Steris had only found 1 of them. Marassi is confused by the whole situation. So what did you think about Wax getting super invested in this fucking, like, accounting mystery?
I know. He needs something to spruce up his life, I guess.
Absolutely not.
I just find it hilarious that, like, at the start he's like, oh god, I guess I'll go through the ledgers for Steris. And he's like, aha, I have won. I have found 2 of the 3. Like, they're literally searching for basically pennies. Like, 3 missing pennies in their accounts. He's like,
I found it.
I found where the missing pennies have gone. The missing 3 cents. This guy wrote a 4 really terribly and they thought it was a 3. So Marassi then tells Wax that she wants to head to bed for a few hours, so he should also go over the notes and drawings from Raylur. She also tosses the pouch holding the earring to him. She then heads back to her room, feeling the train slowing. As she glances out the window, she is shocked to see the rest of the train leaving without them. Suddenly, the door to the train car bursts open and a man aims a gun down the hallway at her. And then we go to chapter 7. But yeah, imagine if I had ended the last episode with that. That cliffhanger.
That's fucking hilarious. I still would have only listened to it today, though.
So chapter 7, we switch to Wax's point of view as he notices the train car slowing down, but still hears the chugging sound of the train moving. He instantly burns steel as he hears a door burst open. He pushes against the wall and out into the hallway, causing the passing bullet to get shoved into the wall of the train car. He drops the earring Marassi had thrown at him and pushes himself into the hallway and shoots the man with the gun in the head. Waxon tells Marassi to get Steris to cover as he heads out to the platform that should have been between the train cars, but instead just leads to nowhere. Wax notices some men on horses next to the slowing train car as it drifts along the track due to momentum. He also notices the red rip is low in the sky. Wax can tell that this is meant to be an armed robbery, and he instantly pushes himself into the air and falls back onto the train car as he shoots down one of the 3 men. The other 2 shout that there is an Allomancer, and Wax shoots down one other, but the last man gets away and going off into the forest, likely to call out to others that were nearby. So I did want to note here, I think I brought it up briefly in Stormlight stuff, but so like this red rip is like this like galaxy or star cluster that like has a red tinge to it, and it's mentioned in Stormlight that there's also a red like line galaxy or cluster of stars called Townscar, and so the reason that it was mentioned here is to like they're kind of comparing like celestial bodies or celestial like things in the sky to like these other planets, so that either means that Scadrial and Roshar are actually very close to each other, or they're on opposite ends of this like other galaxy from each other, and they can both see it from their planet. Just wanted to note that.
I'm happy you noted that.
But also, what did you think about the train car being disconnected so that they could be robbed?
Smart.
A lot of the stuff that was done is just like typical Wild West train robbing situations.
You're
Yeah.
right.
I mean, Wax
To rob
does
the
say though that a
train.
lot of it is also like not very like actually like good plans. He's like, they've been reading too much cheap fiction.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, this is kind of ridiculous. So Wax heads back into the train to let Marassi and Steris know what is going on. Marassi
I
had
feel like the
wisely
person who is reading too much fiction is Brandon Sanderson, but sure.
Marassi had wisely gone everyone into one room. He tells them that these bandits are either new to this or have been reading too much fiction, since horseback train robberies are not the best option for robbing a train. Instead, the best option is usually what the Vanishers do, which is just stopping the train altogether. Wax then tells them to hang on before running out of the train and pushing on it while increasing his weight to force the train car to keep moving. He continues pushing until the train car begins moving quickly and eventually passes some other men on horses. Wax shoots into the air to try and scare the horses, but it doesn't work. Eventually, the train car slams into the back of the train. So what do you think about Wax pushing their train car all the way back to the train?
Smart. And probably used a lot of his metal metal whatever. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
metal flakes.
that's pretty cool though.
Yeah, Wax tends to do a lot of really cool stuff, but
He does.
I still think Wayne is better.
Wayne does a lot of cool
Especially-
stuff without
especially
his
what he's
allomancy, I
doing
find.
Especially what he's doing right now. At this current
Yeah, at this
moment,
exact moment in the book. Yeah.
best fucking shit ever.
Oh my gosh. So Wax briefly heads back to Marassi to ask Marassi about Wayne, who, considering he was in the main part of the train, Wax thinks Wayne is already fighting, which he's not.
Yeah, totally.
It's-
I mean, he's fighting in another way,
Oh
you
my
know.
God. He tells Marassi he'll
That
start.
dirty dog.
He tells Marassi he'll start at the front of the train and to let Wayne know if she sees him. He also mentions that he's worried about the fact that none of the robbers are wearing masks. This causes Wax to think the men are outlaws who haven't done a train robbery before, which means someone put them up to it. Wax heads back out into the hallway, but the bandits instantly start firing at him, causing him to duck back into the room. Marassi offers a distraction, and Wax agrees, using her gunfire to get out of a window and up onto the train. He pushes himself forward to the dining car's roof, and Marassi fires some more bullets. He drops down onto one of the bandits between 2 of the train cars. He tries to pull out his gun, but the man punches him in the stomach. Wax increases his weight and shoves the bandit off the train before pushing on the bandits down at the other end of the train car. One falls, and one catches himself on the railing, which leads to Wax shooting the man in the arm. So what do you think about Marassi's continuing competency during these fights? Like, she's being, like, super useful, like, more and more useful, I feel like, each, like, big fight they get into.
You know, I feel like she was pretty useful before, but
She was, I just feel like she's getting, like, more confident with it, and, like, a lot, like, she was able to do some things before, but she's, like, being more involved, like, throughout the whole fight instead of just in, like, little points, I feel like.
Yeah, because I feel like at the very beginning she was definitely like super like inexperienced, right?
Yeah.
But she had her strong parts, but she was like just not experienced enough to gall out.
Yeah.
And then in the last stuff we read, she was focusing more on like a support role than like taking action herself. Like she
Yeah.
was still like taking action, but it wasn't like head on.
I feel like she's just as competent at Wayne at this point, in, like, all these fights.
Wayne is way more competent in their abilities in this current fight.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. He's doing so much.
His abilities, man.
He's not using his abilities.
I bet you he is.
I don't know about that.
Just maybe not his allomantic or ferrochemical abilities, but he's using his abilities.
Okay. So Wax turns towards the train car and sees people hiding near the different tables. He reaches for his metal vials, but realizes they broke when the guy punched him. He heads back to Marassi and Steris, asking if there are any other metal vials. Steris has
Yeah,
3.
here! Let me just pull them out of my purse!
Yeah, Steris has been carrying 3 of them in her purse for the last 6 months. Although instead of the liquid being
Crazy.
whiskey, it was cod liver oil, which is apparently better for Wax's health. Which Wax is not the biggest fan of. Wax then heads back out to the top
She
of the
is
train.
his wife. She has to think about that kind
Yeah,
of thing.
she's
you know?
like, this is good for your health. It's not good for you to be drinking this much whiskey all the time. Have some
totally.
cod liver oil.
Hmm.
So Wax then heads back out onto the top of the train to head towards the frontmost train cars. Wax eventually sees some injured men heading out of one of the cargo cars and notes them to be armored guards, meaning that one of the cargo shipments was a payroll shipment. The guards are shot down and Wax checks on them, noting one is still alive and tells him to press on the wound on his shoulder. Wax then enters the train car, a gas inside making his eyes burn. He notes that the bandits are wearing gas masks. He fires at some of them before pushing himself back out and avoiding the return gunfire. Suddenly there is a small explosion, and when Wax goes back into the train car, he sees that the bandits blew up the safe to open it. The bandits shoot at Wax again, and he pushes the door to the train car closed to stop the bullets. He then brings the injured guard to the nearest passenger train car and tells him not to worry about the money, as both of them have been able to see the bandits' faces. The guard does tell Wax that the bandits have an Allomancer with them. Wax then sees some bandits leaving the cargo train car, one of them using a cane and one a hulking 7-foot-tall man. He hides the injured guard in a luggage space in the floor of the room they were in, and then he gets ready with his gun. Wax wonders why the train driver was still moving the train forward, wonders if he was trying to get to the next town. The bandits then throw a metal cube at Wax, causing him to back off, thinking it was some sort of explosive, but instead he finds that all of his metal reserves are suddenly gone. So what did you think about this strange metal cube that caused all of Wax's allomantic metal reserves to be depleted?
It's almost like it's aluminium or whatever the fuck that shit was. Yeah.
But usually you have to burn aluminum to...
Nah. They're burning it. They're burning it inside that cube.
What did you think, Darkness, about the metal cube?
Did the cube do anything?
So the cube
so
somehow
it's tough.
got rid of all of Wax's elements, like
no,
metal
I
reserves.
get that, but like, did it do anything physically?
No, he could not see do anything. It just got like thrown at him, and then he was like, "All of my metal reserves are gone." Because he's like, I think he thought it was gonna explode or something. He thought it was like some sort of grenade.
Right.
But yeah, it did absolutely nothing. It just like landed near him.
Sometimes that's all it needs to do.
Hey, wait, you know what's cool though? Like, I was just thinking, we haven't really seen anything with magnets.
You think maybe there's like magnets involved?
Or like some sort of magnetism stuff.
Mm.
It'd be cool. I'm not saying that's what it is, but it'd be cool to see how that can work out in a fighting style.
It would be, yeah.
I mean, everything's metal, so.
It would be really funny to see like mistings or fairings that like they're not coin shots or lurchers, but they use magnets to push and pull on metals.
That's what I'm saying. Like, can you imagine?
I can imagine that happening in Era 3, where it's just like here's like a whole bunch of like magnet guns or something.
Also, I completely understand the like. I'm gonna like throw a coin on the ground or like something on the ground and use that to push myself up. Why don't you use? Give me 1 second.
One.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I was thinking like, what if they just use like a grappling hook?
I mean, that's kind of what Renette's given him, and he uses later.
Yeah, you know,
Is
when
it-
you have no metals left, here you go. Here's a grappling hook.
Yeah, he basically has
No, but-
like a grappling hook that can like go into like a ball, and then like he can push on it to cause like the hooks to come out. Like we'll see it
Yeah,
come
but,
up
like,
later,
why-
but he uses that to get back up onto the train at one point after like Steris and him fall into the river.
But like, why is that not like a common thing though? You know what I mean?
I think it seems
That's
like
where
it's
that
just
doesn't make it for everybody. Okay?
yeah, it's,
okay, but she wouldn't be the only one able to make a fucking grappling hook.
she's
It's
not,
not-
but
I
it
don't
seems like
know.
it seems like as far as we can tell that she's the first person to like really think about it. I think it's also because like a lot of the last 300 years was rebuilding civilization. There wasn't a lot of like this sort of like fighting as much, right? So
Okay,
like it's a
but are
very
they not, like-
specific situation.
You're telling me there's like no like harpoons or anything like that?
I think if there are, they'd be much more recent inventions. So that's what I'm
They
saying. Like I
really
think
are
they have.
behind.
I think they're like new things that people are experimenting with.
You mean
They're
they don't
really
use
behind.
grappling hooks to construct buildings? Come on.
They're definitely still behind.
They are behind. They had to like rebuild civilization. So we switch back to Marassi's point of view as she fires her rifle at some bandits who luckily hadn't tried to advance closer to them. When she's out of bullets, she hands it over to Steris to reload before taking it back and aiming it down the hallway again. Marassi and Steris are pretty calm about the whole situation, but the valet that's with them is baffled because he hadn't expected this while working for Wax. Steris seems quite disapproving of the man for not doing his homework thoroughly before taking the job. So what do you think about this valet who's like, I knew he was interested in, like, police work, but I didn't think these sorts of situations were gonna happen.
Honestly, everyone just needs to be like Steris.
This guy was very underprepared for this job.
Loki, I feel like Steris though has slowly been rising as my favorite character in these books.
I told you she gets better. You guys were complaining about her at the end of book 1, and I'm like, no, I need to not defend her. It's very reasonable for you to not like her at the end of book 1. I totally get it. I'm gonna stop.
Yeah,
She's
I'm
still
kind
a
of
terrible person.
I still feel like the Wax and her are not gonna happen though.
She's not a terrible person. She's autistic.
She's terrible.
She's autistic.
She's terrible.
That's literally her issue, is that she's autistic. It doesn't have, like,
Yeah,
she's not
so
the best at interacting with people
what's
socially.
Wax's and Wayne's and this Condra's issues then?
What do you mean?
What are their issues? If she's autistic, they have to have disabilities too, right?
No, they don't.
Nah.
This whole book isn't about disabilities? What are you talking about?
No. That's Stormlight. That's all about, like, mental illness
No,
and stuff
that's
like that.
mental health though. This is like other
This is more of a genetic
disabilities.
thing, yeah, but still. But yeah, so one of the bandits then appears with a hostage, and without thinking, Marassi shoots the bandit in the head. She shocks herself by her actions, and the valet seems horrified as she could have hit the woman. But Marassi just tells the man to shut up. Marassi then starts moving up to the next train car, handing her rifle to a passenger who said he had gun experience. She finds some other passengers
Okay.
who are injured and goes back to see if Steris has some medical equipment, but apparently Steris has slipped past her at some point. She grabs her rifle back from the passenger and begins running to go find Steris. So did you guys have any ideas of where Steris might have disappeared to at this point?
Probably going to join Wayne, to be honest.
You mean Wax?
Ew.
Nope, Wayne.
Oh, okay.
No, she's going to join Wayne for sure.
What did you think, Darkness? Where did
What do you
think
mean?
Steris
She was gonna have alone time with Wax or what?
You already had that.
I don't think they've done stuff, right?
No, they haven't. I
That
think
you
they've
know
kissed, and that's about it.
of. Scandalous.
Ew.
My
Steris
God!
is waiting
Don't
until
hold my
marriage.
hand. I might get pregnant.
Steris is waiting till marriage.
Yeah, okay.
So we switch back to Wax's point of view as he's baffled by how his metal reserves have been drained. The large bandit starts walking towards him and pushes Wax by his gun belt against the far wall. Wax removes his gun belt to free himself and then begins a fist fight with the large man. The man seemed happy to fight Wax, which made Wax decide to run out to the next train car. He bursts out of a window and gets onto the top of the train again, surprised to see some bandits a couple cars down carrying something heavy. The large bandit tries to climb out after Wax, but Wax kicks him repeatedly in the face and then stomps on his hand until he goes back inside the train car. The large bandit soon appears again at the end of the train car, carrying the large, powerful gun that Renette had given him. The man tries to fire it, but is surprised by the intense recoil, and Wax tackles the man so that he can grab his gun belt that had fallen by the man's feet. He takes the metal vial off his
Which
gun.
is crazy, by the way.
He takes the metal vial off his gun belt, but the bandit begins pushing on it to try to get it out of Wax's hands. Wax holds on tight, but is thrown along the top of the train car. So what did you think about the bandits having an Allomancer with them?
The only way you're going to do anything in this world is having
Yeah, that
Allomancer,
wasn't surprising
so-
because like I expected it literally all of them to be Allomancers, but
So suddenly Wax sees someone with a gun pop up at the back of the train car. At first he thinks it's Marassi, but then notices it's Steris with a gun that is supposed to be used just by Allomancers. The shot she fires,
Yeah.
which she doesn't know. The shot she fires goes wild, although it still clips the bandit's arm. But the recoil causes Steris to be thrown off the train. So what did you think about Steris coming to try to help?
So I'm just gonna stay. While I was listening to this, I was also playing Grand Blue, the Grand Blue game that I got.
Yeah.
And right as that happened, in the game, somebody falls off of an airship, and I was
Good
like,
timing.
"That's crazy."
You're like, damn it, Steris!
I'm like, "Damn, that's crazy." I literally thought the book was narrating what I was watching.
that would be hilarious.
What the fuck? I'm watching Stormlight happen, or not Stormlight.
Stormlight.
Mistborn.
Stormlight.
What did you think, Darkness, about Steris coming to try and help?
She succeeded, you know? That's exactly what she wanted to happen.
Yeah, she just wanted to be caught by Wax for sure.
She definitely wanted to go flying again. She really enjoys him carrying her around using his allomancy.
For sure.
I think it's her favorite thing, honestly. So we go to chapter 8, where we continue with Wax's point of view as he jumps off the train after Steris. He drinks down the metal vial and pushes off the train tracks above them to catch up to Steris and grab her, before pushing on the falling shotgun to slow them as it hits the bottom of the river. Steris asks what was wrong with the gun, and he tells her it was meant to be used while he was increasing his weight.
What's wrong with the gun? Oh my god.
He then
You know-
You know what's wrong with the gun? You shot it.
I'm fully convinced that Arundel
yeah.
is
Arundel?
just like pre-founding Gotham, and then these characters are just the Bat family.
I wouldn't be surprised if after everything that happened to Steris in book 1 that she's been trying to secretly get like some gun lessons, and so like she was like, oh yeah, I've totally taken some gun lessons, I can definitely fire this gun, and then she's like, this did not go as it goes in training, what the fuck.
That just makes me even. I really, really feel like all of these characters could be translated into that universe, though, right? Because Wax to me is just literally Batman, right?
Batman with
And
some actual
then-
superpowers.
Right,
Fucking Batman.
right. And then Wayne is his first Robin, right?
Oh my god.
And then Steris is
This her
Alfred.
second? Oh, okay.
I was gonna ask if you were gonna call her Alfred, yeah. Is harassing like Catwoman or something then?
Oh my god.
Yes, essentially. But I was thinking about Renette, and she's the one that provides the guy that provides all the like armory and weapons and stuff for him.
Mm.
Jesus.
I'm like, how are you gonna
You're
like?
thinking way too much about this.
It's because it literally fits so well. Like she literally gave him a grappling hook. Like next thing she's gonna like give him like a fucking full on suit. You know?
Yeah,
He's gonna come out. Wait,
That
he has
looks-
a cape.
that looks like a bat. Yeah.
He has a cape, right?
He has a miscoat,
yeah,
so
he's got the
it close
miscoat.
enough.
Fucking- nah, if he does that little jumpy jump that the bat people do, literally it's gonna look like a bat. There's no way.
Oh gosh. So yeah, Waxen.
Not wrong.
So Waxen plunges them into the river to grab the gun, replacing it with one of the metal ball grappling hooks from Renette, so that he has something to push them up and out of the water with. He then pushes them up to the train tracks again, using the second of Renette's grappling hooks when they go a bit sideways. Once they land, Wax sees that Steris seems excited by the whole thing. He jokes that he'd been told that Steris was supposed to be boring, and she replies that it's good for a woman to take an interest in her husband's hobbies. Wax then pushes them towards the train, telling Steris to hide once they get back onto the train. He lands at the front of the train and speaks to the engineer, who says the bandits shot his guard, and they're nearing the next town. He also mentions that the bandits are installing some device nearby. So what did you think about how Wax was able to save Steris and get them back to the train?
Wax is doing things, that would seem impossible and making them possible.
Lucky, if I were Steris, I'd be kicking my feet right now.
That's
my
basically
God.
what she's doing. She's like super excited about the whole thing. She's like, this is great.
Honestly, I'm so mad. I'm so mad.
Why are you
'Cause I
mad?
just know it's not gonna happen.
You don't think the relationship's gonna happen?
No, and I'm gonna be so angry if anything happens to her.
I know, I love her so much.
That little
I'm-
no, you
I'm
shouldn't.
gonna-
have
I'm gonna
empathy,
jump
just
for
empathy.
joy. I'm
gonna
jump
tell
for
you,
joy when she dies.
I think we had talked about Cosmere couples before. Wax and Steris are my favorite Cosmere couple. Like this little stuff here, this is cute to me.
They gotta be a couple first, though.
They're engaged.
Okay, but
Is being engaged
the
not being a couple?
stuff isn't there. No, the stuff isn't there.
It's an arranged marriage.
He
It's not-
comforts her, and she like falls asleep on his shoulder later, and she
but
comforted
this is all
him
stuff
over
he-
Leslie's death.
Okay, but this is all stuff you can do like with a friend.
Yeah.
Wayne doesn't do it for him. Wayne won't
Well,
put his
that's
head
'cause
on Wax's
Wayne
shoulder.
is a guy. First off, these are female friends. This is what female friends do with you. Okay, being all comforting and all of that.
Well,
Men
Milan
don't
would
do
have
that
some
shit.
objections to that, but
Malon would do it as a man. She would comfort someone as a man.
Milan is my second favorite. Like she's got
I'm
it.
not
Oh my
surprised.
God. Loki?
Oh
I like Melon a lot.
I know you do. Is Malon and Wayne your favorite Cosmere couple?
I think I find out of everyone
my
favorite
favorite
Milan.
no.
No?
My favorite couple came from, or at least so far that we've gotten, was what? I can't remember their names. From the very first book we read.
Siri and Susabron?
No, what's the Lightsworn and I can't.
Oh,
remember what
Light Song
her
and
name is.
Blushweaver?
That's it. Yeah, that's my favorite couple.
I see. Even though they weren't actually ever a couple.
No, they are totally a couple.
They never were a couple. They were actually just friends. Even though she
They
kept
were
trying to
not
seduce
just
him.
friends. No, not friends. Blushweaver definitely got with like song 100%.
They were definitely way less of a couple than Stairs and Wax.
No, not at all. Sarah and Wax are just making, it's all a farce in general. So
Light Song didn't want to date Blushweaver. He didn't want to sleep with her.
yeah, I feel like that's what he said, but with his body, he was like, "Nah, I really do want to be with this person."
No, I don't think so. So anyways, we switch to Marassi's point of view as she tries to find Stairs, but are frequently stopped by the upset passengers looking for someone of authority. She eventually makes her way to a mostly empty train car and sees a man with a cane who she tries to tell to go with the rest of the passengers. She is confused when he asks if she is an allomancer. The man then raises something in one hand, causing Marassi to pull out her gun, but the train suddenly begins to slow, causing them both to stumble. The man curses and hurries off, leaving Marassi to pick up her gun and find a strange metal cube with symbols on it. She grabs the cube and hurries off to find Wax and Steris. So, who do you think this man with the cane is? Because he seems to be with the bandits as far as we can tell, but he's also, like, not really helping.
It's I'm gonna say Wit because I don't know what the fuck. I don't forget the other.
No, we find Hoyd later.
No, it's totally Wit.
It's definitely not Hoyd.
Definitely.
Wait, what was the question again?
Who is it?
What do you think about this guy with the cane? The man with the cane? Because he seems to be with the bandits, but he's also, like, not really, like, doing bandit-y things. He seems to just be, like, hanging out with them the whole time. Wax seems to think, like, he's the one in charge, I believe.
He's the manager.
He's the manager?
Yeah, he's like a step above them because, like, he's got to make sure everything's going.
Is he a full-on manager or is he middle management?
No, he's middle management.
Damn. Okay.
Christ.
That's the worst type of management.
Yeah, I was gonna explain like after I got to that step. I was like, he's not the top, and he's not the top or below the top, but like he's there to make sure stuff is happening.
I see. That's why he has to go on the heist. He doesn't get to sit back at headquarters.
Uh-huh.
I see. So we switch back to Wax's point of view as he holds on to one of the bandits' guns and pushes himself up to the top of the train, into the next train car. He pushes 2 bandits off the sides of the train and then moves to the next train car, killing 3 more bandits, and then pushing the explosive device which they had been setting up off of the train into the river below. Suddenly, the large bandit appears again, and Wax uses the sphere grappling hook to wrap around the bandit's leg. He then pushes on the metal sphere, causing the bandit to be yanked off the train and into the nearby forest. Wax then goes on to the top of the train cars again, seeing a group of about a dozen bandits throwing each other down into the river below, including the man with the cane. Suddenly the men all freeze, and Wax throws one of his empty vials towards them and grins when he sees it hit an invisible barrier and freeze in the air. He drops down and glances into the next train car where he sees Marassi standing on a bunch of suitcases to press herself against the ceiling and freeze the bandits in place with her speed bubble.
How do you make somebody? How do they make them freeze? Like, I didn't understand that.
I think they're just going so slowly that it looks like they're frozen in place to Wax.
Okay, because when he said frozen, I'm like, that's not what you said your fucking shit did.
Yeah, no, so he's calling it frozen, but I think it's just moving so slowly that it kind of just, like, looks like they're frozen in place. But they're still probably slowly moving, just, like, barely.
Not what I thought.
Yeah, like, they're moving so slowly that the vial, like, isn't instantly hitting the ground. It's probably, like, it's probably, like, drifting like a feather down to the train car. But you like Marassi catching the bandits again? She's really good at catching criminals this way. It's her signature move now.
She is the best. So much better than Ceres.
Wow. Ceres is great in other ways.
Yeah, okay, like throwing herself off of the train, becoming a damsel in distress.
She's
literally
very good at planning for things.
She can.
Okay, I will give her that, yes.
I'm pretty sure this does expose that she can change the size of the bubble, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it does. I think she has a maximum, but I think she can make it smaller than the maximum.
Yeah.
It seems like.
So, I was just wondering, because, like, I'm pretty sure she can make it, like, personal size, just for her.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the comment where she's like, oh, like, this is useful if, like, you want the show to start faster or something.
Yeah, like a play or something.
Great.
Yeah, so she can obviously make a bubble, like, kind of basically just encompass her.
And it's, like, in the middle of her body where, like, it's centered, right? So I was just wondering if, like, imagine she does it at a minimum and just her internal organs, like, slowly, like, age.
Could you put yourself in a coma by just encompassing your heart or something?
Or here's another way to do it, right? Like, what if somebody shoots you in a vital organ, so she uses her powers to slow that down
Ooh,
till she can get to
like a
somewhere to
hospital or
fix the
something.
bubble.
Yeah.
To
That
fix
would
her.
be really cool. Yeah, if she could basically like.
Well, she wouldn't. The thing is, she wouldn't need to get to the hospital. The hospital can come to her, because
Well,
she
no, but
can't get to the
if
hospital.
say like she needed to be carried there, yeah, like if you could make it just so it's within yourself, so that people could still like hold you by like your shoulders and legs or something, that would be like super cool.
It would have to be. Well, the thing is, it would have to be in the middle of the body.
Yeah, but I mean, most
And
of
it-
your internal organs are in the middle of your body, except for your brain.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, so would she be able to move?
I don't know if she could move because her heart wouldn't be pumping blood enough, but I bet you someone
That's
could
what I'm
carry
saying.
her. I think someone could carry her,
Okay,
she just couldn't move
okay.
herself.
Okay, right.
Can she move the bubble though? That's the thing.
Well, I
But
think the
thing
bubble
that-
is a. Oh, yeah, because that's the thing, isn't it? Is that the bubble's supposed to be locked in place.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Like,
so
if-
So,
have
yeah,
to
the
come to
hospital
her.
would have to come to her then.
And not
medic would have
only
to come to
that,
her.
but I feel like at that point it would be needed to like encase her whole body in general. Because if you just encase like I feel like if it's a sphere, right, and you try to encase just like that spot, it's still gonna be protruding like the sphere out and like
That's
forward
true,
and
yeah.
backwards, right? Because
Yeah,
I
so
don't
she'd
think
probably
she
have
could
to
change
do
the
like
shape.
she'd probably have to do like a 5 foot or 6 foot bubble, depending how big she is, and then just basically around herself, and then yeah, have the medics come
Are you
to
telling
her.
me you don't know how big she is?
I don't remember her height. I think she's like 5'6" or something like that.
All I can think about is that
Quick,
girl from
ask the Cosmere.
Incredibles.
I can look it up.
Quick, ask the Cosmere.
All I
Appearance
can
and
think of is that
personality.
girl from Incredibles, the one that does the force fields.
Oh, Violet.
Yeah.
See it listing a height. I know she's definitely shorter than Wax. I'm assuming she's like 5 foot something. I don't think she's like very tall.
Why would you assume she's shorter than Wax? I don't understand.
She just doesn't want tall women because she's not tall.
So I think it specifies a few times that like she looks up at Wax. Yeah, I don't see a specific height. So chapter 9, we continue with Wax's point of view, but a bit forward in time as the doctor tends to his wounds. They were at the town of Ironstand, and the remaining 4 bandits were being taken away by the constables there. Wax also notes that there were way too many dead bodies. The doctor finally lets Wax go, and he sees Marassi nearby, who shakes her head, meaning she hadn't found Wayne or Melan. Wax was incredibly worried about Wayne.
I wondered why.
Wax was incredibly worried about Wayne and began his own search of the train in case Wayne had been stuffed into a compartment somewhere. So at this point, before we found out, did you have any theories
He's
about
definitely
where?
stuffed somewhere.
Did you have any theories about where Wayne and Melan were
Nope.
before we figured it out?
Nope. Not at all. Especially what actually was true. This dirty, dirty dog.
Did you have any theories, Darkness, about where they were?
Absolutely not.
So Wax's valet was being fussed over by several nurses in one of the train cars that Wax passes through, and the constable captain of the area then catches up with him. As Wax searches for Wayne, soon joined by Marassi, the captain mentions that this group of bandits is a well-known gang. However, he hadn't known of any Allomancers in the group, nor of the man with the cane, and mentioned that the leader was supposed to be a small, feisty, Colas-blooded man who had not been seen here. So what do you think about the differences between the knowledge the constables have of this group versus what we saw during this fight?
Not that good, so I don't understand how they're a notable gang, to be honest.
I'm still fully convinced there's somebody working in the constables that is not supposed to be working there. We're gonna get betrayed by the.
So Wax then passes Steris as well, before noticing some moving metal lines and begins rushing towards them. He sees the lines are leading to the floor of a private room on the train car that seemed to have not had anyone in it. When he opens the luggage compartment, though, instead of finding a bound Wayne, he finds Wayne with a half-naked Melan. So yeah, what did you think about the fact that Melan and Wayne were fooling around the whole fight and just didn't even notice?
It just started making me think of, wait, she could do like literally anything. She could be anybody. She could make herself look very close to Runette.
Well, I think the whole point is he's trying to get over Annette, so I don't think she would do that.
Sure he is. Sure he is. Okay.
It was definitely interesting.
Yeah, they were fooling around in this little like cupboard under the floor.
Yeah, love it.
So we continue with Wax's point of view as they sit at the constable station, and Marassi berates Wayne for not realizing they'd been in the middle of a gunfight. Wayne makes excuses about moving on and how they had been so close to the train tracks it had been hard to hear much else. Wax doesn't approve of Wayne's actions, but just seems glad that Wayne is alive and well. Melan asks if there had been anything weird about the fight, and Wax mentions the metal cube that had stolen away his allomancy. It was similar to an allomancer who could burn chromium, however the cube hadn't touched him. Marassi then pops back into the room after she had stalked off, bringing out the cube that she had gotten from the man with the cane. Wayne jokes that the cube could make a terrible gun. So, what did you say?
She came out and she goes, "You mean this?"
Yeah. So what do you think about how this cube seems to work similar to a chromium misting? So apparently there's like how aluminum takes, if you burn it, it takes away your powers. Apparently there's a misting that if they touch you, they can like drain away your abilities as well, like
That's
your
cool
metal
shit.
reserves.
Cool as shit.
So how do you think this cube works? Because it didn't even touch him. Because he's like, with how chromium mistings work,
Magnets. Like
then
Darkness said,
you
magnets.
think it's magnets?
That literally Darkness made that
Like an EMP,
comment, and I
but like
swear,
with
I love it.
magnetism.
Exactly. Love it.
So Wayne and Melan then joke about making out, and Marassi berates Melan a bit for being over 600 years old and going after Wayne, who is obviously much younger, as he's actually human.
But I'm young at heart.
Yeah, Melan jokes that she's young at heart, and also that the body she's using was from a 16-year-old, which does not make things any better.
No, it does
Fine. What are you
not.
talking about? I don't know.
I was literally like, oh no.
Yeah, this makes everyone very uncomfortable for a moment, because they're like, she's
Why?
older, but it's like it's kind of not great because you're using a minor's body, but okay.
Yeah.
Melan then asks if they're going to go after the bandits or continue on to New Saran, and Wax says they should continue on using the freight train, and if the bandits aren't involved in whatever is happening, he'll go after them after he's dealt with his uncle.
First off, not to get too far into it, right?
Yeah.
But there are so many people who look much younger than they are. Okay? As long as they are the age, the correct age, it really shouldn't matter.
It technically doesn't matter, but it's still like when she's trying to be like, oh, the age gap doesn't matter, I'm using a very young body, and they're like, okay, that's not really helping. Like, it's a different thing, but it's not helping your case, Melan.
I mean, it is helping your case, because
No.
obviously she got dick down.
Oh, God. So Wayne and Melan then go to gather their luggage, and Marassi begins inspecting the metal cube some more. She asks for Vendel's note package back in case it has some of these symbols in it. She then tells Wax to go check on Steris, as although she appears calm, she's doing needlework, which she hates but has been told was something that women of means do as a hobby. Marassi and Wax then both leave the room, Marassi going to talk to the station master, and Wax goes to talk to Steris. He tells Steris that he doesn't fit into noble society that he grew up in, and that he had to work to do the simple socialite life that seems so easy to the other nobles. Steris says that that's how she feels about her whole life, not being able to fit in. Steris eventually falls asleep on Wax's shoulder after stating that he seems happiest when flying around the city using his allomancy. So what did you think about Wax and Steris relating to each other over not fitting in?
Hussy.
She is a sweet woman.
Nope, she's not. She's just acting like a sweet woman.
She's a good person.
She's gonna turn on him and break his heart.
What was the question?
What do you think about Wax and Steris relating to each other over not fitting in?
That's valid.
I thought it was a cute moment.
Yeah.
And then we get Chapter 10, and we get the continuation of the broadsheet page from New Saran, which has a snippet of an article discussing whether Harmony has his own medal or not. It also has a note about vandalism and robbery at Farthing Mansion. The vandalism had a reverse gold...
What does it say about him having his own medal?
It literally just says, like, does he have his own medal? We don't know. Like, it really
don't have any actual proof of, like...
No, it says... I can literally read it word for word, 1 second. It says... Does Harmony have a medal? The first age philosopher Galabras Menthan meant this rhetorically, but even the Lord Mistborn thought on this when he famously said, having the has seized a medal? From councils to pubs, the question is still debated. But now, breakthroughs in science have brought us closer to an answer, continued on the back. So they say that they're getting closer to an answer, but it does not give any sort of, like, confirmation either way.
What do you mean? What did it say on the back?
We don't get the back. At least not yet.
The hell?
Maybe we'll get it later on in the book.
Care about later on, I want it now.
Yeah, so there's a note about the vandalism at Farthing Mansion. There's a notice from about a workers' meeting that night. There's also an ad for a gum brand called Soother's Choice. And there's a brief paragraph continuing Nikki Savage's story, mentioning a man with a hunting knife. So yeah, what did you think about people speculating over whether Harmony has his own medal?
Been speculating about this for quite a while, so...
Do you think we're going to find a definitive answer at some point in this book?
Fuck no.
What do you think, Darkness? Do you think we're going to find a definitive answer at some point about whether Harmony has his own medal?
Yeah.
I don't think in this book. I think it's going to be in the next book, which is labeled The Lost Medal.
It is labeled The Lost Medal.
Yeah, no, because I'm literally staring at my books here. Okay? And the next one in the series of After Bands of Mourning is The Lost Medal.
I think at one point in these chapters, Wax also says that he swears by the Lost Medal.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the lost metal is supposed to be atium. I think is what we learned during last book in this book. That he says like when he's.
But doesn't mean it is.
It doesn't mean it is. No, I'm just saying like when he swears by it in this book, he's referring to atium, I believe. But it definitely could mean something different in the next book. So we continue with Wax's point of view as he wakes up to the sound of explosions. He glances around, seeing Steris and Wayne asleep, and Milan had been with their luggage in another car, looking through her bags of bones. He pulls out a gun, but no longer sure that the
Oh my
sound...
god. I love when they go to the one place and they're
We're gonna get there. It's a fun scene.
God.
It's a fun, chaotic scene.
so fucking funny.
So he pulls out a gun, but no longer is sure that the sound he heard was explosions. He moves to the engine car and sees Marassi there with the engineer. He then glances out the window and sees that the sound he was hearing was actually a whole bunch of large waterfalls. The train driver mentions that he thinks Harmony was showing off when he made New Saran, but that most people from Ellendale don't even know it exists. He also tells them where their hotel is at since he's from New Saran. However, their hotel is at the top of all the terraces, while the train is stopping at the bottom, meaning it will take them a few hours by gondola to get to the top. Wax instead decides he's going to use allomancy, causing Marassi to complain that she's wearing a skirt. He grabs Marassi by the waist and begins pushing them
What
out
does
of
it matter?
He begins pushing them out of the train and into the city. Unlike Ellendale, most of the homes here were quaint and small instead of in apartment buildings. He pushes them up several terraces, staying on the rooftops instead of going across the street for Marassi's sake. So what did you think about how New Saran looks? I think it sounds really pretty.
That sound pretty? 100%.
Honestly, that's where I would want to live if I lived in Ellendale.
Wait, you're living in Ellen?
Ellendale.
Ellen's dead.
Well, yeah, that's why I was wondering why she was living in him.
Ellen's dead.
Here's a little map of New Saran, which kind of shows
map?
like the terraces. Yeah.
Little math. Got it.
Map.
Little math. Got it.
Yeah, I think New Saran looks very pretty. I would want to live there.
No.
You don't want to live there, Darkness? The hell?
It's all white and black.
Oh my
It's all
gosh.
white and black.
Uh,
Oh, that's funny.
So eventually they get to the top of the terrace city, and he places Marassi down, knowing that he wants to find the hotel.
Wait,
before...
wait. I'm so sorry. To get places, would you have to take that thing right there?
So you mainly have to take the gondolas, I believe, but
That's not happening.
But he says that
You
there's
don't
like
like water?
switchbacks. I think kind of similar to what is it? San Francisco that has that one street with like the super tall hill with the switchback road.
I don't know.
Like I think if you can see on parts of the map, there's like these little like roads that go up to the different terraces. So like there's like paths you can take, but they take much longer. I think it's just faster to take the gondolas, and it seems like everyone takes the gondolas.
Gondolas are not happening.
Well, you wouldn't live there then.
No.
But yeah, so eventually they get to the top of the terrace city, and he places Marassi down, knowing that he wants to find the hotel before going back to the others. He wanders down the streets, and Marassi notes the people avoid getting too close to Wax, acting like animals do near a predator. As they continue, Marassi asks if she can borrow Wayne to help her go through the graveyard looking for Riddler's spike. Wax tells her to go ahead, as he doesn't need Wayne's help at the party. Suddenly, Wax notices the reverse gold symbol on the broadsheet that a girl nearby was trying to sell. He buys it from her and asks her where Farthing Mansion is. She gives him some directions, and he tells Marassi to follow him. He explains to Marassi that the symbol is of a criminal he had known out in the roughs named Ape Manton, but he should be in jail currently. However, he stops himself from going after Ape, and instead turns back towards the hotel, knowing that Ape wouldn't be involved with the set since they use allomancers and Ape hates allomancers. So what do you think about one of the criminals apparently that Wax is like knows really well is here in New Saran at the same time as Wax?
Crazy.
What's the question?
What do you think about the fact that one of like these criminals that Wax chased out in the roughs is here in the city at the same time as Wax?
It's totally just a coincidence. It has nothing to do with anything. You know?
Yeah, okay. Definitely a coincidence.
Yeah.
Seems like it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Wax is pretty sure he's not working with the set in any way.
Pretty sure. Can't be positive, though.
Wait, what makes him so sure again?
Because he says that Ape Manton specifically is like very anti-allomancer, and the set uses allomancers. Like they have allomancers in their group.
Okay, but how like that can still mean nothing if they have the same goals or like they have mutual benefits from helping each other.
Well, I think
Oh, I bet they
I
have
think
mutual benefits.
Wax is saying that like he doesn't think Ape would like work with allomancers for any reason. Like I think his whole thing was killing allomancers.
Mm-hmm. And then freaking what's his name? Kelsier's group hated
Nobles.
Nobles? Yeah, exactly.
And then worked with Ellen. That's fair.
Good analogy, Darkness. I
That is a
love
good
it.
analogy.
What the fuck is an analogy?
Says the English major.
No, that's me.
Huh?
I'm the one that went to college for English.
Darkness has been in classes for an English major.
No, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm the one that did.
I'm actually dual majoring English and psychology, but
Okay, I didn't know. It was a
Yeah,
psychology
see,
part.
exactly.
He's still in college for fucking English
No psychology.
and English. So Marassi then accuses Wax of having a vendetta against his uncle for besting him during the Miles' 100 Lives incident, which makes Wax upset. She says it's not wrong to be angry at his uncle for taking his sister, but he needs to not let his anger cloud his judgment. Wax then tells Marassi to go check them in, and he'll get the others from the train. So do you agree that Wax is like a little too obsessed with like getting back at his uncle, or do you think it's like reasonable and he's not like too obsessed?
I feel like he's definitely obsessed, but
I feel like it's necessary to be upset.
yeah, I agree.
So we switch to Wayne's point of view as he showed up to their hotel room and states they'll have the entire top floor of the hotel to themselves. Wayne asks if he can have the woman's hat, which confuses her, and he confuses her even more when he mentions wanting it for when he next is acting as an old lady. Wax
God.
She's like, excuse me? Wax then stomps by, asking if the window's open, and when he's told that they were painted over, he forces them open and potentially breaks them a bit. Wax says he'll pay
Oh my God, this group is so.
this
like,
poor old woman.
I swear to God, this is like every D&D fucking party.
Yes,
walking
it
in,
really feels
and
like a D&D party.
They're being the one person who is like, I'm so sorry for everybody else.
But also, I need graveyards.
Oh my God.
This poor old woman is like, oh my God, like some like rich noble from Ellendale is here.
Shit.
And then he's like breaking her windows.
Don't break the stuff in my suitcase. If you break the skulls in my suitcase, I'm like, oh my God.
And here's a list of like a million horrible things that could happen to your hotel just because we're staying here.
And then, oh, there's a corpse in this suitcase? No, I don't keep corpses. Why
I don't
would
need the flesh.
I want to eat their skin. What the
And then she's
fuck?
also coming out being like, how big should my boobs be?
Oh yeah, that too. And she comes out fucking like a man, and fucking.
To be fair, I think the woman is gone after she comes back out as a man. I think she's already gone downstairs at that point.
But I thought it was fucking hilarious when she comes out as a man, and Wayne is just like,
he's like,
I guess women need to be men every so often. What?
Wayne's potentially into that. Wayne's just like, you know what?
Wayne,
Doesn't
I
bother
love
me.
Wayne being bisexual. So fucking good.
I feel like I'd be more pansexual if he's kind of just like, yeah, I don't really care if you look like a man. That's fine.
Or
Kinda
are a
offended
man.
that you even said that, but okay.
Wait, sorry, what did you say, Darkness?
I
Yeah,
said I'm
sorry.
kind of offended that you even said that.
Why, you don't like Wayne? I love Wayne. Is fucking awesome.
Wayne is disgusting.
Wayne's like, you know what? I still like her.
you know, the whole like argument that she had about her being old, like extremely old and blah blah
Yeah.
blah. It's the same argument I remember watching on anime. I can't remember it's like the fucking. It's like a very close to adult anime because they're talking about brothels and sex. I can't remember what it's called. But in the very first episode, the one dude he has like, relations with elves, and the one dude is like, they're like thousands of years old, and he's like, so?
Yeah, Wayne's definitely that sort of guy. He's like, yeah, I don't care. I'm down for anything.
I'm like, oh my God, I love it though. Wayne is definitely my favorite character. 100%.
You guys were asking for some more non-straight characters.
Yes,
We
I
got
want sex.
Renette, we've got Wayne now. I mean, all the Conjure are basically gender fluid.
Exactly. Which makes it even better.
We're getting that representation now.
Yep. We got a gay character. Awesome.
Yeah.
Love it. Finally branching out, Sanderson.
Yep. No, I told you as he gets more to like modern day stuff, like more recent books, he gets a bit more, but he gets better with that, with having more like diverse characters in it. But yeah, so Marassi accuses Wax of oh no, we got when they were at the hotel.
Yeah, you already read that. What the hell?
So he wants the old lady's hat. Wax tries to break open the windows. Wax says he'll pay for the repairs, but he wants them to be able to open in case he needs to jump out of them. Wayne then offers his shoe to the woman for his hat, and she's like, I don't know what I would do with a man's shoe. And he's like, well, it's in case you ever need to be a man.
Yeah.
Steris then comes over, bringing a list
Wayne is just the fucking conjurer, but instead of using bones, he just uses clothes.
He just uses hats, mainly.
Like,
He's all about the hats.
I feel like, well, here's the thing. I feel like it could be literally any clothes. Like, he just chooses hats, like, right?
Yeah,
Like the hats.
it could be any clothes, but he has
But,
a thing for
oh my
hats.
God.
He has a preference for hats.
Just waiting for there to be like an actual reasoning behind it, like, something. Crazy.
But yeah, so Steris comes over with a list of potential issues that could occur while they're here, which includes like explosions, flooding, a herd of stampeding cattle going through the lobby, apparently. Which is she says one of the least likely ones.
Not
and they
rare.
argue a bit about how many explosions happen around Wax. And he's like, oh yeah, I guess there's a lot of them, aren't there?
I guess so. I don't know.
The lady is increasingly overwhelmed as Steris and Wayne go back and forth about everything, and then Melan bursts in, barely clothed, asking what size breast she should have for tonight. And then Marassi eventually tries to usher the woman out of the room, because she's like, I'm so sorry about all of them, but also can I have a list of nearby graveyards? And the woman's like, I'm sorry! Because at first she thinks Marassi's the only normal one. She's like, you need to get away from these people. Like, are you okay?
Yeah. but here's the thing. It's even crazier because before that they were talking about the skulls in her suitcase, and then this woman goes, "Can I see your graveyards?"
Yeah, yeah. She's like, make sure the bellboy doesn't break my skulls bringing our luggage up.
My God, the corpses in that? No. Why would I keep flesh?
But yeah, what did you think about the whole group freaking out this poor hotel woman?
So bad for her, but at the same time, I don't.
It's hilarious, but also, yeah, it's definitely very like D&D party-esque with like this poor random NPC who's just like this normal townsperson who's like, what is happening?
What's going on here?
They're like, I'm
what
so
have I got
confused.
myself into?
They're like, I regret letting you stay here instantly.
I bet.
Oh my gosh. What did you think, Darkness, about this poor woman?
She was going at it, like I know she was going through it.
I would not. I feel like she probably owns the hotel, but like if she didn't, I wouldn't be surprised if she just like sat down at the lobby desk afterwards, being like, I need to quit. I need to retire. Also, Wayne at one point calls her very masculine looking, like it super insults her, being like, oh yeah, your shoulders and your face are like, you could totally pull off being a man.
I need your shoes so I can be a man. Or so I can be an old lady,
Yeah, I need
even better.
He wanted her hat. He wanted to give her the shoes.
Oh my God. Oh
He also
yeah,
tried to
in
put some
case she wanted to
peanuts
be
in
a
the
man.
shoe. Yeah.
Oh my God. I mean, it's almost as bad as the rat later.
He puts the tail of a rat in the fucking banker's
And
desk
he gave Wax the rat without the tail
Yeah,
first.
he took the tail off, kept the tail.
And then he gives the tail to someone.
Because it's a really nice, extra long rat tail.
Oh, I bet. I bet it's really nice.
Once the lady's gone, Wax begins giving out room assignments, pairing Steris and Marassi together since him and Steris aren't married yet. Wayne himself are to share a room, and then Melan gets her own room so that she can like melt or something or do whatever she does as a Khandra, I think he says.
Oh, Wayne definitely needs that room with her, to be honest.
I wouldn't be surprised if Wayne sneaks off to her room at some point. I honestly don't
stays in her
remember,
room permanently, but you know.
Melan then comes back out as a man, stating that she decided that no breasts would be best for the situation. She's also like sculpted her face into like a more masculine shape.
Masculine, yeah.
Yeah, and everyone kind of just like
and Wayne is still okay with it.
Yeah,
you know?
and so everyone kind of like looks at Wayne like kind of like are you okay with this? And he completely does not mind that Melan has turned herself into a man. He thinks that if he can dress up as a woman every so often, why can't Melan be a man sometimes?
Exactly.
He's like, yeah, no,
Double standards, man.
This is fine. Waxon says that they should get a bit of sleep before Marassi and Wayne go grave digging, and he goes to the party. We had already talked about it, but were you surprised that Wayne was okay with Melan using a male body?
I was happy, for sure.
He's like,
Interesting.
He's like, I see no issue with this.
But there is no issue with it. Being a man is not a problem.
Well, it's not, but like if you aren't like,
being
sexually attracted to a man
is not a problem.
It's not. I'm not saying it is. Do you think Wayne would sleep with Melan while she's using a man's body?
100%. He'd probably dress up as a woman to do so. You know, him in his cross-dressing ways.
I mean, he does like people who beat him up. Stuff like that,
yeah,
apparently.
Even better.
You were happy with the whole situation, Darkness?
Hell yeah.
You feel represented in a Sanderson book?
Absolutely not.
Okay. You don't relate to Wayne?
I mean, technically.
Kinda. I mean, kinda, you know.
Alright, so we get to chapter 11, our final chapter, and we move to Wax's point of view as he's driven in a carriage to the party. He thinks about how his uncle had decided most of his life for him, before he had went out into the roughs. The carriage eventually pulls up to the mansion with stained glass windows, meant to look like the old noble mansions from the Lord Ruler's days. Steris is in the carriage with him, and she asks him to go over their plan, although Wax doesn't really think they have a plan. They were going to the party of a woman whom Raylor had noted was of interest, along with 5 other families. However, his notes had not mentioned why they were of interest to him. Wax eventually gets bored of waiting in line in the carriage, so he helps Steris out and wants to walk up to the front doors that are only about 30 seconds away. Steris then hands him a list of things she is prepared for, mainly conversation topics, and how to segue into talking about the bands of Mourning to try to get information. Wax says he isn't incompetent in social situations, but Steris reminds him of the time he headbutted the head of the set house during a party. So what did you think about how bad Wax apparently is in party situations?
Man, doesn't shock me. He's a little, different.
Just imagine him headbutting this poor guy in the middle of a party.
I mean, to be honest, that's kind of a very Wayne thing to do. So
Wax
It
thing
really
to do.
is.
whatever. Yes, Wax and Wayne. They're both 2 phases of the moon. Okay.
Honestly,
What moon?
why
There's
would you
no
do
moon
this
here.
to us?
Wait, there's none.
I've told you
There's
that
no
before.
moon
That's the
here?
whole joke. Is that they're named Wax and Wayne, but Scadrial literally doesn't have a moon.
Here,
They have
hello?
no moon.
It must be a very dark night.
It's mostly stars. You don't see the moon.
That dark night rises, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
What were you gonna say before darkness? I missed it.
I mean, yeah, like, to be fair with how these characters are, not much that's happening surprises me.
And then we get a beggar that pops out of the bushes who looks like he should be blind and calls himself Old Hoyd and asks for some coins. He also mentions drinking cologne.
Wait, does he actually say, "I'm Old Hoyd"? Like,
Yeah, I'm pretty
The
sure he's
word-
pretty
oh
much
my
specifically
God.
calls himself Old Hoyd. He says, where is
Weird.
he?
dude, it's so weird.
No, that's the banker stuff afterwards. Okay, here's Hoyd. What does he say his name? Talks about drinking cologne. Yeah, he says, I own the place, technically. Now, regarding those coins for Old Hoyd, my good lord. So yeah. Somehow, Wax doesn't think twice about this guy using the same name as his old coachman. Because he looks different enough in this disguise that he doesn't recognize him. But yeah, so he asks for some coins. He also mentions drinking cologne and that he technically owns this place. Wax gives Hoyd some money to get some real alcohol, and Hoyd throws him back a coin as change. The groundsman then chases Hoyd away. As Wax and Steris enter the party, Wax is made to hand over all of his weapons, which Wax finds ridiculous as he is a constable and a coin shot, meaning that any
Yeah, I
piece of
found it
metal can be a
ridiculous, too.
weapon to him. So yeah,
I found it absolutely ridiculous.
So what do you think about Hoyd just being this random beggar outside of this party?
He needs it.
Do you think there's gonna be anything special about this coin that he threw at Wax? Wax doesn't really look at it.
Watch it be the special metal. Can you imagine?
Damn. It's made out of cesium or whatever.
Cesium.
We found it. We found Harmony's medal.
I mean, we knew it existed. Had to, right?
I mean, if he has his own perpendicularity, it would make sense that he also has his own medal. Unless there's a second perpendicularity somewhere still. But it would make more sense for it just to be 1, considering the 2 shards are 1 now.
Mm-hmm.
So we switch to Wayne's point of view as he and Marassi go to a bank. Wayne thinks the bank is like a target asking to be robbed, but being so well guarded that robbers can't do so. Wayne instantly begins making characters for the 2 of them, which Marassi just goes along with until they actually meet with one of the bankers. She then shows her constabulary credentials to get them in, which upsets Wayne as he thinks that is cheating. Marassi then gives the man a list of names to check to see if they had accounts here. She also tells Wayne that there is no point in acting if the truth will get them just as far or further. Wayne is not happy about that. We skip forward a bit in time to the banker named Mr. Areola, which causes Wayne to snicker. The banker...
Areola.
Yes. I believe it's spelled differently than the actual body part, but still.
Mm-hmm, sure.
It's spelled that. The banker is stating that he values the private...
You say like that, but I don't think the people who listen to us as a podcast understands what you mean. Could you spell it out?
Yeah, sorry. It's spelled Eriola.
Hey, Echo. Just looking out for you guys in the podcast.
Yeah, so the banker is stating that he
Audio
values...
listeners.
He values the privacy of his customers, even though Marassi thinks one of his customers could be a criminal. The banker seems to be stalling,
Could be.
which has Wayne on edge, and eventually a clerk comes in with some papers for the banker. The papers were descriptions of Wayne and Marassi, along with a confirmation they were constables, and also a warning to watch out for Wayne stealing things, which Wayne is offended by. The banker then concedes to slide the ledgers over to Marassi. So what do you think about the banker not trusting Marassi and Wayne and wanting to verify who they were?
I mean, good on him.
I mean, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, like, what? Just gonna trust everyone who walks in? Come on, man.
Especially since he might not know what constabulary papers from Ellendale look like since he's not from Ellendale.
Exactly.
So after looking over the ledgers, Marassi notes that all of the gravediggers seem to be crooked and likely selling fancy clothing or jewelry off of the corpses they are burying. The banker is horrified. But Marassi says the legality is questionable. She then says they should leave, and the banker asks if she's going to arrest the gravediggers. However, Marassi says instead she's going to employ one of them. So what do you think about Marassi wanting to find a gravedigger that she can bribe to help them?
Hey, man. She knows what she wants.
She's like, I don't want to dig up the graves. Let me go find a gravedigger to dig up the graves.
I'm ready to employ them.
I would totally do it.
You would hire someone, or you would dig up the grave yourself?
Yes.
Both.
Wow, darkness.
It sounds like fun.
So my overview questions. Do you think the bandits are related to the set in any way, or was it a coincidence that they attacked the train Wax was on?
I think it was a coincidence.
Do you think Darkness?
A coincidence? I mean, I could see it,
A coincidence? I think not.
but I don't think so. I can see it being a coincidence, but I don't think it was.
Do you think Wax is going to learn anything important at the party, or do you think these people that were on Raider's list were important to him for like some other reason?
Other reason.
Huh. Yeah. We still need a lot more information on stuff anyway.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I always hate when we're in the beginnings of a book because I'm like, it's so hard to
There's so
make
many possibilities.
Yeah.
It's definitely easier, I feel like, to make predictions when you're like in the middle, where you have enough information that you know where things are pretty much going, but you're not far enough in that things have been mostly like, you're like, okay, I know pretty much where exactly it's going to go. Also, do you think Marassi and Wayne will find Raylar's spike in one of the graveyards, or do you think that's going to be too easy and it's not going to be there?
I want them to get there and just like it be gone.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be gone for sure.
So you think it's not going to be in the graveyard? That's too easy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or are you trying to say like it was there, but then it's been taken since?
Yeah, that. And I want them to pull a heist for it.
All right. Do you have any other predictions for where you think what's going to happen in this book? Like, do you think we're going to get the sister back this book, or is it going to be
No.
No?
We're not getting the sister back this book.
I don't think we're getting the sister back ever. She's dead, gone,
I see.
never coming back.
Well, she wasn't dead as of the picture. She could be dead now, but as of like what was it, like a few days or like a week ago in book, she wasn't.
She's dead, totally. No other explanation. She's dead.
Okay. You have any other thoughts, Darkness?
Mm-mm.
All right. That was the end of our chapters and everything for this week. We will not be recording next week because I will be in Japan, but I will be back for the following week.
Lucky dog.
I know, right? But I will be back for the following week because I get back on the Saturday, so I should be good for the Sunday because my plan is to do all of my notes before we leave on vacation so that I have them all ready for when I get back.
So, she says it's her plan, but you know she started this shit very late. You know.
So yeah, that's my plan. So as long as Darkness doesn't end up working that Sunday, I think the plan is to have the next episode be on the 6th. So for that episode, we will be reading chapters 12 through 6. Nope, not 17. That's wrong. 16.
17, got it.
Nope, 16. 12 through 16.
17, got it.
Nope, not 17.
Everybody in the audio.
I made a typo of 15 and then corrected it accidentally
17.
to 17. That was worse. So yeah, 12 to 16 next week. So thank you so much to Hubris, Calvin Dies in Book 3, and Kyle for being our Patreons. We very much appreciate you. And we'll see you next time. Bye!
Bye.